The cafeteria was buzzing with laughter, the clatter of trays, and the hum of teenage chatter, but in one corner, you could feel the tension thick enough to slice through. That's when it happened. A chair screeched violently against the floor, heads turned, and the entire room froze. A big kid, the kind everyone knew not to mess with, had grabbed a smaller girl by the wrist. She winced, biting her lip to hide the pain. He was smirking, twisting her arm harder. "Welcome to Lincoln High," he sneered. What happened next, no one saw coming. 2 weeks earlier, Amara Johnson had walked into Lincoln High School for the first time. A quiet, soft-spoken black girl from Atlanta, she had just moved to this small Midwestern town with her mother, who had taken a new nursing job. Amara was bright, straight-A student, talented in track, and deeply respectful. But moving meant starting over. New faces. New hallways. New judgments. From the moment she walked in, people noticed her, not because she was loud or different, but because she carried herself with a quiet confidence. She dressed neatly, kept to herself, and didn't react when whispers followed her down the hallways. In her first week, Amara learned 3 things about Lincoln High. The cafeteria food was terrible, the Wi-Fi was even worse, and everyone feared one person, Brock Turner. Brock wasn't just a bully, he was the bully. Tall, muscular, and mean for no reason. He ruled the cafeteria like it was his kingdom. He had a group of followers who laughed at everything he said, even when it wasn't funny. His reputation came from the countless kids he'd humiliated, dumping milk on their heads, shoving them into lockers, spreading lies online. Teachers knew, but somehow, he always got away with it. So when Amara walked in with her lunch tray that Tuesday afternoon, she had no idea she was about to become his next target. She sat alone at the edge of the cafeteria, headphones in, sketching in her notebook. Drawing was her escape, the one thing that calmed her heart. But she felt eyes on her. Whispering. Then laughter. When she looked up, Brock was staring at her from across the room. "Hey new girl," he called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You lost or something?" "That's my table." Amara blinked, confused. The cafeteria was full of empty tables. "There's plenty of space," she said softly, trying to keep peace, but Brock wasn't looking for peace. He stood up, his heavy steps echoing as he walked toward her. His friends followed, laughing like hyenas. He stopped right in front of her, towering over her. "I said that's my seat." Amara looked down at her tray. "You can have it." "I'll move." She stood up calmly, but as she turned to walk away, Brock reached out and grabbed her wrist, hard. "Don't walk away when I'm talking to you." His voice thundered through the cafeteria. The laughter stopped. Phones came out. Amara tried to pull free. "You're hurting me." Brock smirked. "What are you gonna do about it, huh?" He twisted her arm, forcing her to bend slightly. A few gasps echoed around the room. Nobody stepped in. Not even the teachers at the far end, they just froze, unsure of what to do. Then something shifted in Amara's eyes. She stopped resisting. She looked up at him, calm, steady, unafraid. "Let go," she said quietly. Brock laughed. "Or what?" And that's when it happened. In one swift motion, faster than anyone could process, Amara twisted her wrist downward, dropped her weight, and spun her arm free. Her other hand came up, pushing against his chest with precision, and Brock stumbled backward, losing his balance. Before he could recover, she swept his legs, a perfect judo move. He hit the floor hard. The entire cafeteria gasped. For a second, silence. Then a burst of laughter, not from his friends, but from everyone else. Brock's face turned red as he struggled to get up. Amara stood there, breathing evenly, her expression calm. "I told you to let go," she said softly, and walked away. That moment spread through the school like wildfire. The video, because of course someone recorded it, went viral overnight. A clip titled, "New Girl Takes Down School Bully," had over 50,000 views by the next morning. Brock didn't show up to school the next day. When he did, people looked at him differently. His reign of fear was broken, but Amara? She didn't gloat. She didn't brag. She went back to her usual self, quiet, humble, respectful. When people asked if she'd trained in martial arts, she just smiled. "My dad taught me self-defense. Not to fight, but to protect." And that's when people started learning her story. Her father had been a police officer in Atlanta, calm, strong, always teaching her how to stay grounded under pressure. "Violence isn't power," he used to say. "Control is." When he passed away in an accident 2 years ago, it broke her. Her mom moved them to a new city hoping for a fresh start, but Amara carried his lessons everywhere. She promised herself she'd never use what he taught her for revenge, only to protect, only to stand her ground when it truly mattered. That day in the cafeteria, she had lived that promise. Over the next few weeks, something unexpected happened. The same kids who used to ignore her started sitting with her at lunch. The same teachers who hadn't intervened that day began checking in with students more often. Even the principal called her in, not to scold, but to thank her for handling a dangerous situation without escalating it. As for Brock, he avoided her for a while. But one day, after class, she found him waiting by her locker. Amara tensed. "What do you want?" He looked nervous, no smirk, no swagger. I wanted to say sorry," he muttered. "For what I did. I was out of line." Amara studied his face. There was no arrogance this time. "Just guilt. You hurt people because you're hurting," she said quietly. "Fix that. Not by making others feel smaller." He didn't respond, just nodded and walked away. Months passed, and something amazing happened. Brock changed. Slowly, quietly, but genuinely. He stopped picking fights. Started helping out in gym class. Even joined a local boxing club, channeling his anger into discipline. People noticed. But the one person who never mentioned the cafeteria incident again was Amara, because she didn't see that day as her victory. She saw it as a turning point. For everyone. Years later, at Lincoln High's graduation ceremony, the principal called 2 names to the stage, Amara Johnson and Brock Turner. The crowd erupted in applause. Amara had been chosen as valedictorian. Brock, for the Most Improved Student Award. As they shook hands, Brock leaned in and whispered, "Thanks for not giving up on me." Amara smiled. "You did that yourself." She walked to the podium, took a breath, and began her speech. "Every person you meet is fighting a battle you don't see," she said. "Some fight to be heard. Some fight to be seen. And some, like I once did, fight just to belong. But the real strength isn't in how hard you hit. It's in how much heart you show when you're tested." The audience stood, clapping, some wiping tears. Amara looked out across the sea of faces, her mother beaming, her classmates smiling, and for the first time since she'd moved to that little town, she felt at home, because in the end, it wasn't about defeating a bully. It was about teaching everyone, even him, that courage and kindness can change more than fear ever could. And somewhere in the crowd, Brock wiped his eyes, not out of shame, but pride, because sometimes, the person who once made others cry learns what it means to truly stand up, by finally standing down.